Welcome to the exciting and new podcast. I'm Jason.
I'm Andy.
And I'm Brian.
I am so excited to introduce our guests. Brian Mack, back again.
What?
Mac!
Anthony, back again.
All the way from Colorado.
Oh, my God. We have a forum here tonight. 5 people to discuss the Wrath
It's a
of
battle to
Khan.
the death.
Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan. I think everybody's
Release
a
date.
fan of this movie. We're so fun. We're happy to talk about it. I'm drunk. I can't even get my words out. Let's go.
Release date June 4th, 1982. An hour, 53 minutes long, and it's rated PG.
Oh, no F's or boobs. Yeah, okay.
With that shaved chest,
the only
Ricardo
breast-
Montalban.
That's the only
They were
breast we
showing
got
it
was
off.
Ricardo Montalban.
And that beautiful mullet.
There were a lot of boobs. They were just all Ricardo Montalbans.
Directed by Nicholas Meyer. I didn't see anything really. He did
a bunch of Star Trek stuff. Yeah, he's a Star Trek guy. He might still be alive even. I think he directed the 6th one too, the Undiscovered Country. But we
do have some cast members that are still alive.
I was also going to say Anthony's a Star Trek expert. So if I say anything that doesn't sound correct, Anthony, please
I'll correct
me.
you. Don't worry.
Please correct me.
Curse
Cast members that are correct.
And we're hoping you're going to bring some interesting trivia and tidbits to tonight's
I do have some tidbits
episode.
as we move on. Yes,
Awesome.
as we go
That'll be
along. I don't know
great.
if we're going to talk about the whole
And
movie.
also, I believe you guys have
Tidbits.
a story about a trip you guys made to Trevose, was it?
Oh yes, Andrew, please.
We're doing this already?
I figured why not? Right at
yes.
the top, right?
Well, might as well start off.
Anthony and I went to a Star Trek convention in 1994-ish.
Ish?
Yeah,
Okay.
1994. It was when the Next Generation was in its prime.
Yeah, so Star Trek Next Generation was on the air. Everybody cared about it. No one cared about it. But
Trevose is definitely off Broadway.
And Trevose is where, Anthony? I was saying Valley Forge, but
I live near
I don't know, I don't know.
Trevose. It's
So
by
it's
Neshaminy Mall.
So it's outside of
Montgomery
Philly.
County, somewhere
All right.
Pennsylvania.
No, it's Bucks.
So what's the center there?
Bucks.
I mean, because I know Valley Forge Center that you would have talked
Nope.
about.
Far
I
from
think
it.
it's center on a Sheraton off I-95.
I think Anthony's fucked up. I think it was the Valley Forge, but he's telling me it's not. It was someplace. Anyway, we went to this Star Trek.
We'll listen to what Anthony says.
We went to a Star Trek convention. It was everything you've ever heard. And this was 94, so long before like Comic-Cons and Wizard Worlds and all
I
that
love
shit.
Chiller and
And
Wizard
that's all.
World
And
and
I'm not
Monster Meat.
mocking the fact that there are those things, but this was a Star Trek convention in every sense of the word. Everybody dressed up
In the pure sense.
and all it was Star Trek. So all the vendors were selling Star Trek shit. Like, see, what Troy's name, whatever her name is in real life, the porno that she made,
Marina
and
Sirtis.
they're selling all that shit. And anyway, so Anthony and I went with our friend Ron, and the point of the story is that Brent Spiner, Data from Next Generation, was
Or
the
Dada.
Dada was the special
you're
guest
English,
that
yes,
day,
Dada.
and he was speaking.
My Data is the guy from Goonies, but we'll talk about that in another episode.
So he was speaking that day. Data, Brent Spiner was there, and he was taking questions from the audience. And Anthony and I were in the back of the crowd, all the way in the back, and Ron's with us. And then Ron's like, I'm going up and asking him a question. And Anthony and I were like, dude,
head in hand.
please
Head
do
in hand.
not do what you're about to do. And so he did.
That's
He's
a
gonna do
Picard
it.
face palm.
We were just like, don't. And he went. And we're like, all right. So we got in line.
Oh, no.
And Brent Spiner's talking, and he's addressing all these.
May I preface this with
Please, man, you were there too.
Just I know. Just think of comic book guy from The Simpsons.
It really
That's all I'm going to
was
say.
like that. So all these people are going up there to ask him, so Mr. Data, when you were on the bridge of the Enterprise, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, wow.
He's like, listen, it was a show, blah, 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 And
Oh,
so
boy.
Ron gets up there to ask his question. Anthony and I are probably holding hands at that time,
Holding
clutching
our
them,
breath.
going like, oh my God, what's going to happen here? So Ron fancies himself a screenwriter and a person of the movie profession, and he asked.
I hope
or
Ron
he actually
subscribes to the podcast.
he actually didn't even ask Data a question. Brent Spiner a question. He said that he had written a screenplay with Brent Spiner in mind,
Are you
and that he
kidding
wanted
me?
him to be a part of this, and that would he be interested in reading his screenplay?
And this is only a
And
year
this
out
is
of
in front
college.
of how
Yeah, we're
how many
young
people would you
kids.
say were in this room?
24 years old.
I mean, a couple hundred people
Yeah,
at
easily,
least.
yeah.
And he's saying this in front of, he's like, I want you to be, and so Brent Spiner, in his best diplomatic way, was like,
Told him to fuck off.
Send it to my agent. If I enjoy it, I'll read it and I'll do it and that kind of shit. And so, like, Anthony and I were mortified. like
But
it's got to be
Ron's look, he was completely and utterly dejected. I mean, Ron was like,
So he really thought he was going
Data
out of there
didn't-
with Data as his
he
star.
didn't, he didn't
because
sign on.
everybody-
He didn't sign on right
everybody
there.
was asking stupid Star Trek. Oh, but when Data did this and Data did that, and in this episode, Ron went up and thought he was asking an adult movie centric question. And when Brent Spiner's like, yeah, send it to me, and turned around and walked back and sat down, Ron's shoulders dropped, his jaw dropped, his head
Poor
went
Ron.
down.
Ron, we love
he
you, man.
Turned around, and Andy and I just turned around. Andy and I were already 10 feet away.
Oh, 10.
Like,
Going
I don't know this guy.
Going towards
back
the
of the
bar, at the back of the hotel. I mean,
He's not with us.
God, it was
He,
terrible.
he
It
thought
was
he was
terrible.
gonna. He thought he was gonna walk out of there and say, "Brent Spiner's
Brent Spiner
attached
signed
to
a
this."
contract.
Yeah.
It was uncomfortable.
Terrible.
If he
Terrible.
spoke Vulcan,
It was
he
also
might
the only time I've ever been to a Star Trek convention. Anthony,
Yes.
only time you've ever been to a Star Trek convention?
Star Trek convention, yes. Sci-fi conventions, I've been to many.
Oh yeah, I mean like the Wizard
I've been
Worlds
to
of the
many.
world and stuff like that.
Do they
With the
speak
Wizard
Romulan
Worlds,
and Vulcan
I went to,
there?
hey, I went
you
to a,
can't get by if you don't
They-
speak Romulan.
Okay.
You have to
they have
do
something
the.
called StarCon that comes out here.
Oh,
out in
yeah, the
Colorado
Live
every
Long
year
and
that I've been
Prosper
to, like, 4
sign.
times.
Yo, that Romulan ale is legal.
That's
That'll
a good
get you
segue.
lit.
Yeah, it's illegal.
So let's talk about.
What movie?
Why are we here to talk about this? Oh, Wrath of Khan. How
The
do we do
Wrath of
this?
the Khan.
We want to talk about the Wrath of Khan.
Yeah, you want to talk about its performance, or would you like to anything else specific you want to talk about? Like I can tell
Kirstie
you,
Alley's
its budget.
performance was beautiful. Yeah. Wasn't that her first role?
It was definitely before
Kirstie Alley?
Cheers. for
I
sure,
forgot
yeah.
that she was in that movie. When I saw her, I was like, boy,
And it's funny because
good to see it.
she got so big so fast she didn't do Search for Spock Part 3.
Wait.
You want to guess how old she is?
Get big so
She's like
fast. Was that
70 years old
like
now, isn't
popularity
she?
or
in
never
her
mind.
60s.
Wait,
that
what?
was.
We'll go around the table here if you want to guess how old she is.
Kirstie Alley?
I said, did she get big in popularity or big?
Yeah.
Never mind.
Oh, yeah, she got
that would have
big,
been
all
but
right.
bounce.
But, he knows exactly where that button is now in his new keypad. There.
But how old was she for this when the release of this movie?
I'm going to say
34
20.
years old.
Well, yeah, I have a feeling he knows the truth, but I was going to say 22.
What did you say, Anthony? 24?
I said 34.
34. Oh.
That old?
So we got a 34.
Yeah, I
and
would
you
say,
said
like-
22.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to say 28.
Yeah, I was thinking 28 also, so I'll say 29 just to get the 30 also.
You're like, the Price is Right.
Yeah.
She was at the time 31, which makes her 71 years old today.
Damn, Kirstie Alley's 71, huh?
Yeah.
Her birthday's today?
I don't
No,
know math very good. I said I
just
think
meant
she's 70 now,
this
but then
day,
when I
yeah.
guessed her young age at 22, it just doesn't add up. But that's why I got a psychology degree.
That's only
To
40
avoid
years.
math.
It's 50 years.
Mac, you work in finance and you're not so good at math.
That's
not good.
correct. I work in the policy. I write our credit policy. I stay away from numbers.
He
So
was
you're
a
good
guy.
at
He was
dealing with
on. He was on the stock exchange floor. And
Yeah.
In 1987,
this is why
we
there was
had
a
video.
crash
We had
soon after
video.
that.
Yes, I already have been famous.
He was the only mullet on the stock exchange at the time.
And that was after my dad made me cut my hair.
That was after.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Were there any other ages you wanted to guess? How about how old Bill Shatner was during the filming?
I'd like to say that. Well, he's like 90 now. This was
He's
40
93.
and this was 40 years ago. So he was William Shatner like 51 when this was made?
He's our age in 1982.
But
Was he like 51 then? Yeah.
55.
I think he was.
But
He's 93
You say
now.
50.
He's 91 now. He was 51.
51.
All right, so we're close.
this brings up a good topic because the whole
I'm
movie.
51 now, Anthony.
When I watched it then, I was reminded
Me
again
too.
now about how old they all were.
But it's so funny because
You know,
they
they're
break, like this movie is about getting old. he's
is.
getting the
Totally.
reading glasses. It's
Yeah.
like leave this to the next generation.
And it made sense when I was a kid, but now I'm looking at it and I'm like,
exactly.
they're not old.
I'm watching
No.
this. I'm like,
But then
are you
again-
not old?
Yeah, but you have to think of it in military age because that's what
You're
they
retired by now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's
then
why
that makes sense.
And they even said something like he wanted to be in the air, but he was like he was doing inspections.
And it's so funny
Yeah.
because
So-
they only do like
so-
6 more of these movies after the fact. They're like,
and now
you're
I
so
know the
old
feeling
now.
where he has the glasses and the glasses are broken. He's like, I can't use them. I'm like, oh, I know how you feel now.
I was like,
can't-
he was like he was in an episode of the Twilight Zone. There's never,
He can't take
no, how about
Rexall.
this-
He can't take
Time.
Rexall 5 or whatever it was because he's allergic to it.
He did have 2 great
So,
Twilight Zone episodes.
I was talking to previous said friend Ron earlier today about being 51, 52 years old, and about how when you look back at actors back in the day when they were 51, like, my God, they're old.
Right,
When I look
exactly.
at myself
And
now,
now we're
I'm like,
that age.
I'm looking at
It's
myself now
sad.
going,
51
but I
today
look at
doesn't look like
Shatner in this
51
movie, I'm
40
like,
years ago.
I'm not that old.
I think we're a
He's
young
51 in that
51.
movie. I'm not that old.
Yeah, remember
Or at least I don't look that old.
In Living Color did a joke about Wrath of Khan, and they rolled out Bones. Remember,
I
like,
think everybody's
Bones,
done it.
where's Bones? And it was actually a skeleton in a wheelchair they rolled out. And I'm like, they're not that old.
Well, Bones has to be at least 10 years older than William Shatner, right?
Good news though for you guys that are
Forrest Kelly was the oldest.
Yeah.
good news for you guys that are 51 though. In 40 years, you get to go into space.
Yeah, right.
Well, I'm 53.
Will Bezos or not? Was he Bezos or was he Musk? I forget.
He went up with Bezos.
Okay,
Yeah. So who were we
Go
asking?
Shaq.
You were asking about DeForest
Bones.
Kelly.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's like 10 years older than
DeForest Kelly?
Shatner. So he's like 61.
Dr. Leonard
Yeah,
McCoy.
he was old. He was already old.
He was 62,
62. All right.
Yeah.
and he died in
was like 10
he died
he's
in
like 10 years older than everybody else
1999. He
in the
was
cast.
79.
Oh,
Now,
that's
see,
right.
As a 62-year-old, he does not look old.
Yeah, he didn't.
But as a 51-year-old, Shatner looked old. Like, I don't get why that doesn't compute.
It was-
in my
Yeah,
And he
brain.
looks younger now. But it's all the plastic surgery.
And I'm
It
sure
was
when
the
I,
toupee.
I would say
when I get to 62
He
and
had a
I see
bad
DeForest
toupee.
Kelly, I'll be like, oh.
Yeah, and also I think like you know he's a lot fatter, so it helps expand his skin, so it looks
Hey.
fresher.
Hey.
I would
We
say
don't-
I
we
would
don't-
say it's drugs and smoking but then I drinking and then I go, oh wait, never mind.
James Doohan was also 62.
Oh, okay. I was
Scotty.
unaware that they
How
were
about
the same
Ricardo
age.
Montalban?
He had to have been like 60 also.
Yeah,
I mean, he was an old man.
Ricardo Montalban was 61.
Yeah, but he had the chest though.
He
man.
died- he
He
died
had
in-
the packs.
He died in 2009. He was 88.
Damn.
I was looking at that chest, trying to make. Is that a prosthetic chest? But
I was
might be
looking at
real.
it too,
I
man.
noticed
I
it seems
swear
like
that might
they
have been a
taped the
prosthetic.
nipple
his
down.
nipple was sticking out at one point. I saw it sticking out. I'm
Yeah,
like,
he
is
I
that
was
a
very
nipple?
uncomfortable with that.
I was like, wouldn't that
Before
feel
he even-
weird? Wouldn't it
before
like
he even got on
agitate
a
you?
starship, he was flipping a nip.
Yeah, why would you want that either covered or taped down? Like just sitting there resting on your vest, just getting.
And then was that his son in there? Was that the Beastmaster?
Yes.
No, Mark Singer is the Beastmaster, but he was in.
It wasn't Mark Singer, but I know who you're. The
He
kid
was
you're
in.
talking about.
He was in
son.
V though, the series.
Yeah.
I knew him from
He was
somewhere
in.
else.
He was
Okay.
Lieutenant James on
Okay.
V the series.
Okay.
Yeah, his kid or whatever, whoever that was. I just
That's
like to
all,
point out
I didn't
that
really look him up. That's all I remember him from V.
I kind of nerded out on Star Trek Wrath of Khan today, and I went back and watched Space Seed after the fact.
Nice.
Anthony, Space
Nice.
Seed. That is the episode that Ricardo Montalban shows up as Khan in the original series. So
Yeah, I remember doing that when Wrath of Khan came out.
yeah.
And
the
you know, I was like, I
DY-100
have to go back and
spacecraft.
watch the other ones. You know, from when he first.
So, you know,
came
he-
out.
I think that makes it. I just it brings a level of makes it a little more exciting.
It's
that
also
movie,
fun to see
knowing
how
that you were
the
gonna see him
1967 version of Star Trek compared to the 1982 Star Trek version is ridiculous.
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
it's what 15 years.
but
So, yeah,
15 years from like 2000 to 2015 doesn't look that different in a movie, but 67 to 82, it's like a bunch of buttons going beep, beep, beep. And then you get to 82 and it's kind of looks a little modern. You know, 82 movie looks fine by our
Yeah.
standards.
I did
but-
giggle about how it was still all that analog computer
Oh, for
shit,
sure.
you know,
Oh, yeah,
and it was still, you know,
that was the
in the
infancy
future
of that.
from
Yeah.
yeah.
But so Khan, they pull him aboard their ship.
Who was that?
Khan. I'm not going to do this Shatner.
Oh, wrong guy.
Was that a fart slip?
I don't think the fart I thought was intentional at first.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I thought you were getting ready for anybody that does the con scream to do a fart
I think
noise.
you were just going to be like, whenever Meg.
So anyway, I watched Spacey today. There was a scene in there where Ricardo Montalban and William Shatner fight hand-to-hand combat. It is
I vaguely remember.
It is insane how they didn't even care if the body doubles look like.
Oh my god!
Even the guy that they were, you could tell. You're like, that's obviously not
There's
William
like a
Shatner.
25-pound weight difference.
That's a guy that does not look like William Shatner.
I think they make fun of that in Family Guy a few times.
And by the way, Ricardo Montalban in his brown face look, even though he's Mexican descent, but he's in the Spacey episode.
Indian.
In the
I thought he was a Spanish.
Indian, yeah.
But he is like fully dark in the TV show, but in the movie he's not. He's just looking regular. So by 82, they were like,
maybe that's a Michael Jackson treatment.
His name is Khan Noonien Singh.
Sure.
Anthony
Anthony knew
does
that.
anything for you.
Khan Noonien Singh, yeah.
He
was an Indian prince super soldier he was in control of over a quarter of the planet in the year 1996.
Yeah, he said
according
that,
to
right?
the Star Trek
kept saying
chronology.
1996, yeah.
Yeah.
He ruled over millions.
That was
and
the,
Space Seed
was it
actually goes into that whole.
what was it?
detail,
The Botany
Botany Bay was
Yeah.
that was a Australian penal colony, and that was the name of their ship that they took the name from.
Yeah, botany is the study of plants and shit.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like kind of confused, because then you have Genesis pull into it. And you know something I got to admit is that I thought that was it's been so long since I watched this movie that I thought that was like the next movie, where Spock dies, in this, in the Genesis. I thought that was
You
separate.
thought that was a Peter Gabriel, Phil Collins.
Well,
band.
this starts like the the trilogy of Star Trek movies that it's like. Then the next one they find Spock, then they have to get home
It was
because
a search for Spock.
the search
Yeah.
for Spock,
Right, yeah.
and then the next one is the
Which one's with the whales, right? Yep.
And this
is
one,
that-
Voyage Home.
It's a Voyage Home, yeah. What's the fifth? That's A Quest for
The
Speed.
Final Frontier, which is the only one that
terrible.
Shatner directed, which
Wasn't
was
there one with
terrible.
Peace in the title or something?
well, and then there's
No.
Undiscovered Country. That's the last one.
Undiscovered
with the
Country,
original.
which Leonard Nimoy went back and directed, and it was good.
and
So
that was a
Leonard Nimoy
really good.
directs, good movie. Shatner directs, it's crap.
in the first one, Viger, I'll call
Beager.
it Viger.
Yeah. Good.
Because Brent even called it out,
Right. I couldn't believe he actually knew Star Trek stuff.
Yeah.
He was saying Star Trek things.
But I was very underwhelmed when that came out,
Now,
because I used to be a Trekkie as far as I watched all of the, old
Did you
series
see?
and
Did
everything.
you see that one in the theater? The original?
Yes, I
Yeah.
did. Yep. And when Wrath of Khan came out, I was like standing out of my seat, like, fuck yeah, because I thought it was really one of the best ones. I loved it.
I
thought
still
it was
think it's one of the
terrific.
best ones.
Yeah,
for sure,
yeah. That reminded me watching it again, because I didn't realize all this drama happened with Spock and everything. I'm like, oh shit. The only thing I remembered was Khan, and then
You pick up
the
a lot-
earworms, those earbugs. Yeah. Oops.
Not that one. That one.
You see, I can't hear all that good stuff.
You pick up more on the older things. Like you pick up more on that. You see that and sense that more. You're like, oh yeah.
This is one of those
Okay,
movies
yeah,
where
that too. Yep.
It clicks
the
in a
good guy
different
and the
way.
bad guy are never together. Like they're never in the same
No, they're
scene
never
together.
they're never in the same room
I mean,
together.
They're on a projector screen. I mean, like I guess Star Wars, like that, Darth Vader and Luke aren't together in the first one, but it was really I noticed that
Yeah, but
when
then
I
you
was
have,
watching
you have a lot of
Bottom
battle
Hour.
scenes.
It's like
All the
they're-
battle scenes are usually together though. I mean,
It's like they're fighting over a Zoom video.
It seemed like that when I was watching that this time. They're just like,
Yeah, why don't you come over
the
here
screen
and say
gets all
that?
staticky and stuff like
Fighting
Like,
on
let's
social media.
give them just enough power for cameras and video.
I gotta say, one of my favorite parts of this entire movie was when they went into the nebula, whatever that was called. Anthony.
Oh, that's my favorite right here. I have my favorite
the
moment
Mutara
when
Nebula.
the Enterprise enters the Mutara
Mutara
Nebula.
Nebula.
when they were showing like the
Even the odds.
the Renalti, what's the ship called? The
Renault.
Reliant.
Reliant,
yeah.
and then the Enterprise, and they're like 3D going.
Oh, when they
you
go over
see
top
that,
of
you
each
see
other,
them,
yeah, that's
and they're
cool.
both like missing each other by it kind of, I've always thought like space movies are terrible where they're just like everything's in a straight line. Everything's in a straight line. Go down a foot and they're going to miss you. But this kind of like,
I always thought that was
tension.
Great how they put it in finally. They actually put it in 3 dimensions.
It felt like that.
It made me think of like, when you're like, which way to go? Like when you're in space, you're like, I'm going to go this way.
Just go down.
You have no idea. Am I up?
There's no up or down. Yeah.
It's like,
Brian, what do you think?
I had a problem with the nebula.
Come on, man. That was the best part.
No, just that the fact that they called it the nebula.
You have a problem with the Nebula?
That's funny, Andy, that it's
just like
my
a big
favorite
storm.
part, and I wrote it down. That's great. How about everybody else? We were mentioning our favorite parts here. So did you guys have a favorite part? Obviously, we like the nebula. Anthony, I don't know. Are you with the nebula?
I do have a favorite part. And Andy might remember this because he just watched Space Seed. So when Captain Terrell and Chekhov go down to what they think is SETI Alpha 6, and they walk into the containers.
Yeah.
And Chekhov looks at the seatbelt and goes, "Shit, we got to get out of here."
That was the Botany base.
And they run out,
right? Yep.
And they're all, all of Khan's people are all dressed, and they go in. And Khan looks at Captain Terrell and goes, "I don't remember you, but you, I don't forget a face." Chekhov was not in that original episode.
That's like one of those
he was not in Space
bloopers.
Seed.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, he was not in Space Seed. So that is one of my favorite blooper parts. But like Chekhov was not. I think it was early on. I think it was season 2 of the original episode, and I think Chekhov came on to late season 2, early season 3 of the original series. So he was not in that.
He was not in that episode.
That's some nice trivia. I like that. Yeah.
Thank you.
So
sir.
why would Khan remember him? I'm sure there's
Exactly.
I'm sure there's been a million books written about the fact that like Chekhov walked him to his prison or something like that.
Was working on the lower decks back then. I don't know.
He somehow his jetpack worked and he got out of the Sarlacc pit somehow.
He was cleaning the sonic toilets.
Is Paul Winfield his name? The guy that was the captain.
Paul Winfield is the captain.
He was in possibly my favorite episode of the Next Generation, and that was the Darmok episode of Next Generation. Where that
is an amazing episode.
They speak English, but they don't. They speak in like parables or whatever.
In parables,
yeah.
Yes.
Darmok and Taraga at Elantra or whatever the fuck it was.
You sound like the Darmok
and Jalad.
No. This was like the Enterprise comes upon an alien race where they speak English, but everything is like everything is done
in
a riddle or something like that, and they beam Kirk and Paul Winfield down to the planet.
Not Kirk, it's Picard, dude.
Did I say Kirk? Sorry.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, Picard. And
Admiral Kirk.
You told me to correct you.
I'm glad you did. But yeah, that is my favorite episode of the Star Trek Next Generation, except for the Inner Light.
The whole concept was they talk by association, like in like Earth culture. If you would refer to Gilgamesh, you would be referring to a hero. And so their whole culture, the way they talk, is by association of their culture. So it was trying to understand their language was impossible because they didn't know anything about their culture.
That was a great episode, and he was the other alien in that.
I think I might go back and watch that.
I forget.
It was great.
His name was.
It was a great episode of Next Generation, and it was. I found it a little weird that Captain Kirk realized he had a son in this episode. And it was the second episode of the trilogy, and Darth Vader found out he had a son in the second episode.
In the second one,
coincidence? It just come out like a year before or something like that.
This actually comes out 2 years before.
2 years.
Yeah, that was like too anticlimactic. Like he's your son, and they're just kind of like, well, that's how it goes nowadays.
I don't think they kind of like
2022.
There was not much there, right? There was no love there at all.
No,
I think they were kind of trying to say like
nobody ever called him like a deadbeat dad.
Kirk's just a player, and he's fucking all these women across the galaxy, and
spreading his seed.
He's like you didn't know.
Talk about the Genesis
species and stuff out there,
He is.
And that kid was in Star Trek 3, and then he died.
In real life, he died?
Well, he actually died of AIDS and
he got killed by Christopher.
But he died in Star Trek 3.
So he died in the movie, then he died in real life.
He
died
young,
by the direction of Christopher Lloyd.
He died very young. He was like not even 30 when he died. But he was in Star Trek 3 playing the same character. And Kirstie Alley did not come back for that third one.
She was probably on Cheers by then, right?
By then, she probably was on Cheers, and she was like, "I'm too."
By the way,
good
that
for you."
actor's name, Merritt Buttrick.
Who's that? That's Kirk's son.
The son.
David.
The son. Yep. I always thought it was funny when I was a kid that his last name was Buttrick. So I have another fun fact. About the very beginning of the Wrath
We should
of
play
God.
that crazy sound during.
So
fun
after
fact.
He can't hear the
Kobayashi
sounds.
Maru-
He can't hear the sounds.
No, for
You guys can't hear me?
for the recording.
No, I can hear you, but Jason
Okay.
wanted to play a crazy
So
sound.
after the Kobayashi Maru,
Yeah.
when Kirk and Bones go back to Kirk's apartment,
When he's getting old, when he's having his 50th birthday.
he was getting
He had
old.
those flintlocks on the wall too.
Do you
That was
guys
impressive.
know the date of when that occurs?
You mean start
That
date?
exact date
Start
when
date
that-
38,
when that occurs.
28,
283.
48,
No.
38.8.
No. The actual real-time, real person date.
Oh, like what's Captain Kirk's actual birthday? I don't know.
March
that.
22nd, 2285.
Oh, isn't that your birthday?
That is my birthday, yes.
Just 200 and something years before
200
that.
some odd years late, yes.
No wonder you're a fan.
There you go. There's my other fun
So
fact.
you and Captain Kirk are born on the same day. That's
Yes.
awesome.
That's pretty cool.
Thank you.
I like that. Have you met him?
That's like
Have you ever met him?
That's like my only claim to fame is me and Shatner have the same damn birthday.
Have you ever met him or at a convention?
You
or
know what's
anything?
funny? Years ago, during my first disastrous marriage,
That's a separate
we were at
podcast.
Why, you have a second disastrous marriage?
No,
his
the second one's
second was
going
not a
very well, thank
disaster
you.
yet.
Give him time.
the second one's going fine right now.
Maury, don't listen.
So I was at a I was at a sci-fi convention, and Shatner was he was the main speaker, and my ex-wife paid the money to get me into all the different things he was in, and he got to sign all my
How's this-
stuff.
is that-
Anthony was the sugar daddy. He really was. She paid for him to drag him along.
She was my sugar mama, but that's another.
Oh yeah,
story.
sugar mom. Yeah, she was a sugar mom.
Anyway,
Yeah.
That's
so
a good deal.
We're at the bar at the Marriott, and I go up to the bar to get a couple of drinks. And as I'm sitting there, the bartender completely blows by me, and he says, "Can I help you?" To the guy to the right of me. I look over, and there's William Shatner right directly to the right of me, like right next to me.
Oh, well.
And he goes, "Can I get 2 scotches?" And the bartender's like, "Right away." And I look over, and he goes, "How you doing?" I'm like, "Good. How are you?" He goes, "You were in line to get something signed, didn't you?" And I go, "Yeah." He goes, but as he puts out his hand, he goes, "Bill." I'm like, "Anthony." He goes, "Nice to meet you." Grabbed his scotches and took off. That was literally 30 seconds of me meeting Shatner.
That's awesome, though.
That's
I didn't even know
cool.
that. That's
That
a
was
great
it.
story, man.
My ex-wife is sitting at a cocktail table, like not even 10 feet away, jaw dropped, and she goes,
That is
"Did
awesome.
that really happen?" I'm like, "That fucking happened."
Yeah, you could die a happy man.
Yeah, that's
It was
awesome.
amazing. It was seriously. I went there to just get some stuff signed and to listen to him talk. And I actually got a handshake, and I got to meet him. I actually got a photograph of him and I together too.
How
Which
did you
I
not
will.
lead with this story?
Yeah, it was amazing.
This
Yeah.
is better. This is much better than the Ron asking Brent Spiner's stupid questions
yeah.
at a fucking
I mean,
convention.
it was so fast though.
Put this up front.
The bartender, I'm
Yeah,
going.
can we
Flip
switch
this
this
around.
I have
Flip
my-
it around.
I have my hand up. I'm going, Mr. Bartender, and he walks right by me and just glazes over me and goes, "Can I help you, sir?"
And as,
Everybody
an,
would.
as an
I looked to
alcoholic
my right,
myself,
and
I would have been pissed off and been like,
and
"Yo,
there's
what the
Shatner
fuck, man? Where's my
asking for 2
drink?"
scotches, and he got his 2 scotches. He took a sip out of one, took a sip out of the other, and they were both his. And he went back. I'm like,
Was that his?
fucking A.
Was that for his wife to drown? Like, how long
I
ago
don't know.
was this?
You know what? It was years after this. I think this was like 2004 or
He
5.
didn't even
So
say
I
what
think
brand.
his
He
wife
just
was
said
dead by then.
Scotch. They knew what he wanted
That's
already.
like when you walk to a bar and say, "Beer, please,"
Yeah,
and you're like,
they already knew.
"I got 100 different
Hey,
kinds."
can I get a pack of cigarettes?
generic,
Yeah.
please? The generic kind.
So there's
That's
my
awesome.
there's my Shatner claim to fame right there. We share a birthday, and I got to
I
meet him.
still
for
don't know
30
how he
seconds.
didn't lead with that story.
Yeah, usually he's insulting people and stuff, and he treated
Dude,
you
I was
well.
seriously,
Yeah.
He was always
like
nice to
34
you,
years
right?
old,
Yeah.
and I thought I wet myself. I was like,
How old were you? When was this?
Shatner.
Last
It was 2004, so I was 34 years
2004.
old.
Okay, all right. Wow, that was a long time ago, man.
Very long time ago.
I didn't even have 2 kids back in 2004. Oh yeah, wait. Yeah, I did.
Well, wait, I never had 2
I had
kids,
one.
so-
One of my favorite parts of Wrath of Khan is the end where
Is it a certain speech?
Well, where they're mourning Spock, he's died, and they're kind of doing the
Mr. Savick is trying to.
That's a funny Navy thing, like Mr. Savick. She's a woman. They're like Mr. Savick.
They didn't have any pronouns.
I kept picking up at Mr. Savick. Like, is that all they got, Mister? They can't do anything else. But
there's so many ranks. They can't do something.
But when they're talking about Spock after he died, and Bones says to Kirk, he's not dead.
Are you out of your Vulcan mind?
He's not dead if you remember him, or if we remember him. And that, of course,
Poignant.
always makes me think about the Seinfeld episode after Susan died. And Jerry and George are with the Rosses at the grave, and George's out. He's out. It's a summer of George. He's free. She's dead. And Jerry says to the Rosses, she's not dead. As long as we remember her.
He even said he quoted
and then George gets dragged.
So does that go back to George?
Yes. George gets dragged into now having to spend all his time on the Susan Foundation, and he's like, "So the Rosses brought something up to me today.
Correlation.
The speech you made at the grave today." He's like, "She's not really dead as long as we remember." And he's like, "Yeah, what's that?" He's like, Wrath of Khan. And then George goes, Khan!
It was shot like from above too.
Yeah.
So how many dissertations you think are going to be written?
About what?
About the Seinfeld Khan correlation.
And then there's a whole plot within that whole episode. There's a whole thing where Kramer quotes something from Search for Spock, Star Trek 3, and Elaine's like, what the hell are you talking about? He's like, I know Jerry will tell you Wrath of Khan's the better Star Trek movie, but Search for Spock's a better Star Trek movie. It was just a great.
This whole time, I thought Jerry was a Superman.
It's just a great Star Trek Seinfeld kind of mix. Which
he does have Superman in every episode.
Over my head
damn
back
episode.
then.
Are you not a Seinfeld guy?
I am.
Oh, okay.
But I think I missed a lot of those references.
If you ever watched,
it just wasn't.
You should do a
fresh in
rewatch.
my
It's on
head.
Netflix right now. You could do
it's
a rewatch.
this Seinfeld episode, the Foundation, because that's what
I
Susan Foundation.
Yes, I do remember it all.
Also, watch the Van Buren Boys. It's also a great episode.
But that's nuts. I'm trying to relate it all to Star Trek.
They're involved in it because the one kid's trying to get into the get the scholarship from the Susan Ross Foundation.
Oh, from the Foundation. You're really dragging this.
I'm sorry.
You're making this a Seinfeld podcast.
Okay.
Brian, what do you think? You're very quiet, man. Unless you have to go to the bathroom, you're very quiet today. Is there too many guests? Is there overload?
There's enough content. You don't need me to.
No, but we do want to hear
that.
from you. All the fans want to hear from you, man. All the fan mail I've been reading, I've been showing Andy.
He's like, everybody's like, Mac.
Oh, you ruined it.
Mac speaks enough. Brian has to speak.
Give him Con. God.
It's the pecs. Show the pecs, Mac. That's what it is. That's what the fans want to see.
I show the Wrath of Khan pecs?
This is an audio podcast.
Nipplage,
Mac
too?
showing. Yeah, those pecs were impressive for a 60-year-old.
You know what?
Man.
They were.
We need to get
61-year-old.
We need to get Brian. We need to get Mac in a Khan outfit. That exact Khan outfit.
I'd be up for
We need
that.
to get him in it.
You have to shave the whole beard off.
Our Halloween episode.
And bring
That's
the
it!
mullet back.
You know, just shave the mustache and leave the soul patch, and you can be Lalo.
Are we going to dress up for our Halloween
body
episode?
Got the
Jason.
ladies.
What do you got going on that screen there?
Andy and Jason.
We can do the Halloween
like it.
episode. I think I've gotten to the
really
point now
That
where
would
I
be
got the
great.
Shatner
Wait,
beer
so
belly,
that-
so I'm good.
But then who's Andy going to be? We got to get Andy to be.
I thought it was one of the
Are you
girls.
You'll be Mr. Savick.
I'll be Mr. Savick.
Mr. Savick.
And it can be Spock.
No,
No,
He's
never
Mr.
mind.
Savick. Come on.
Brian pulled up a picture of Khan with two women draped around him, so that would be a good picture for us to.
Are you gonna be one of the women? That's it. I like that.
think it
Let's
would be-
do it. Let's do it.
Anyway,
I like that. I like.
do we
that
want to like
picture.
do our what do we do in this episode? We kind of like rank stuff and talk about things, and
Yeah.
I think we all love Wrath of Khan, so it's the rankings probably. Pointless.
I like when Kirk said I feel young. That was
that's how it ended, right?
Yeah.
I feel young.
I feel young. the universe was new.
It was definitely an episode about aging.
And in the beginning,
it was about aging
because it starts with his birthday and he's feel old. And
in the beginning, Kirk asked
you won't
Spock, "Aren't you dead?" He says that to
yes.
him. You know,
well, that was
like
I remember even back in the day that they were billing this as the episode where Spock died. And then they kill Spock in the first 3 minutes of the show with the Kobayashi Maru. And it was almost like one of those things where you're like, oh.
Don't you mean the Billy Baru?
Billy Baru. But you're like, almost like Spock died at the very start of it. But you're like, oh, they just fucking lied and they made it seem like he died at the beginning. So Spock's fine. And then they killed him at the end. You're like, oh, twin. I didn't see that shit coming.
But I do love how, you know, they shoot his pod out onto the new terraformed planet. You know, you would think that thing would crash and burn through the atmosphere.
It landed nicely.
Yeah, it was like placed there.
Well, it's
like,
ready for Star Trek 3.
Yeah.
What did you think of the guns?
It had retrojets.
And that was one of the things in the Seinfeld episode where they were talking about, Wrath of Khan. Yeah, where they shot Spock in the eyeglass case or the sunglass case.
That was a torpedo, wasn't it?
You know, yes, it was. It was one of their photon torpedoes.
Yes.
Were you about to talk about their stun guns or the laser guns?
Yeah,
because I think that was the first time I've ever seen like one of them shot and like dissolve.
Yes,
yeah.
I think that's. I remember
really
that being
cool.
shocked that you shot
they were
someone
completely
they just
gone.
Like,
yeah, and I was like, that was pretty violent.
Except the ear. Creatures
the
that
earwig.
went in the ear.
How bad was that? You just saw an ear
just,
up close with the thing crawling in. It was so.
When he pulled it out, when he was
ear.
pulling it out of the in between the crevices of the creature or whatever, and he pulled it out.
You know, I'm trying to rationalize. I don't know. Like back then, I was trying to rationalize. Like, well, it has to go through the eardrum. So didn't it like?
But it digs right through the ear.
Wouldn't it be deaf?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
No, but if you look at it, it goes in and down. It doesn't go into the earway. It goes down into them.
No.
What's worse, the worms in Flash Gordon, right, or worse, right?
Flash Gordon worms are they worse?
Or are they bullworms? I think it called.
Was that the Flash Gordon? Oh, that one.
Yeah.
How about the Dune?
We get to do that movie, don't we?
I think it's like 80. I think we missed Flash Gordon.
Well, on a special
that'll
Patreon.
have to be a special Patreon episode, Flash Gordon.
Sorry about
that'll
that.
have 100 guests.
You want to talk about the budget and the domestic and the international box office?
Nah, I don't care about that shit. Who cares?
I was just going to tell you real quick.
All right, yeah, you tell us. I'm not going to guess.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's a new girl.
I heard that.
We heard that.
That's a good
that's
one.
a podcast sound right there. The box
Max
office opening weekend was 14 million. Made a total of 78 million, and its budget was
back in '82 was some bank.
It
money.
was, and then their budget was 11.2 million.
It made 78 million, and the budget was 11. That is a gigantic
Made
blockbuster.
it back sixfold.
And really, after the first one, that disappointing original movie, V'ger, because I think that bombed. Right? It was such a boring movie.
You know what?
Yeah.
You know what the motion picture was based
It
on?
was
though?
too safe.
What was it?
There was a series that was supposed to come out.
Oh,
after
yeah. Star Trek
the
2 or
original
whatever
series
it's
was
called.
supposed to be called Star Trek Phase 2.
Yeah.
It was the second 5-year mission, and that's what the motion picture was based on.
You know, and when that movie came out with the V'ger one, from what I recall back in the day, being a little kid and stuff, is that they were saying that, oh, they're old now. Can you really make a movie about this? And it's, you know, isn't it past their
so
time?
Crazy to think about that now, right?
Yeah, and then Wrath of Khan comes out, and that's what it's like. They almost were making fun of that, like, oh, we're all too old.
But when you think about the original motion picture came out in what, 78 or 79 or something like that?
79.
So 10 years after the show got canceled. 10 years now, they bring back shows like 20, 30 years later. And it's just like, we're doing Beverly Hills 90210 20 years later.
Star Trek Picard.
Picard.
And we eat it up.
And no one cares.
I'm not gonna lie, I get excited for some of them.
But really, when Star Trek the motion picture came out, people were like, these old
when they do these
like,
live
really?
action ones, these live action ones that they do nowadays with like facts of life and different
right.
they just did.
So
I love that stuff.
Point.
It's so fun, man.
Yeah, it is.
Saved by the Bell.
Next Generation.
Saved by the Bell. New
cast.
The new seasons are really good on Peacock.
Generation X is the generation of please give us more of our past.
Yeah.
We don't want to think about what's going on today.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Give us more of the
We're not
80s,
thinking of the
please.
future.
80s
too. You know what?
More 80s, please.
We respect like the past because speaking of the past, like Brian said earlier, he knows a 39-year-old that doesn't know who Milton Berle is.
Yeah.
Like
What
us,
does that even mean?
It's
He
just
didn't
showing
know
that.
who Milton, and when he saw his picture, he was like, "Oh, the guy with the cigar," and I'm like, "That's not what he's known for."
That's more George Burns, right?
Is this
Yeah.
a person you work with or something like that?
Yeah.
That's terrible.
I made him feel bad.
39? So
Either
they born in
39
like
or
80, what?
He would not enjoy any of these Love Boat episodes. Is what I'm
But like
trying to
Milton
say.
Berle was still
You wouldn't
alive.
know him, right?
Round and Round came out in like 89
84.
or no, really?
Yeah, it was
Round
early. It was
Look
early.
it up. Round and Round came out in 84, man.
Yeah, that was an early
Damn,
one.
man, I'm a fucking old person. That seems like it's so much closer to my life now.
Don't wait on me to Google. Keep talking. I'm a little slow here.
What are you
Go,
Googling?
man. Look it up.
Round and
Out
Round.
of- Rat
I saw them
Out of
in
the Cellar,
2019.
1984.
Is Steve Percy still
Percy.
the lead singer? Yeah,
Yes, he is. Yeah.
That
And he still has the
uh,
pipes. Yeah. It
good.
was a good show.
Round and Round song was, what did you say, Tony?
1984.
That is correct.
84. Wow, that seems
Yep.
early. But so Milton Berle was in that video, and your friend was
That's right.
39. So that's
He'd be like 4.
And Milton Berle was
but that's
still
fine.
very
You know,
virile.
you
Yeah,
know
Mil-
people that were.
Milton Berle was related
That's what I'm
to like
saying,
the
like,
bassist, I think.
When I was 4, like Richard Pryor was a big thing, would you say? Because that would have been 78.
Yeah, I remember when he lit himself on fire, right? Wasn't he freebasing coke
He
back
was.
then? Yeah.
Before they made it into crack.
Yeah.
Before they made it cool.
He was a trailblazer. He was ahead of his time.
He really was in so many ways.
Let's talk about what everybody thought about the movie. Give a final score here. We didn't get.
Go that way.
So, how are we
Go.
rating this? So, are we rating this movies as a
That's
whole?
what I was going to tell you
or
right
in
now.
a-
It's a,
you can rate it any way you want.
No, it's
that's
a
all
sco-
that matters.
I'm going to write it down. It's a scoring system of 0 to 100%. It's like a school test because that's what it was. It was a 100 for me. I know those scores have changed nowadays. It's probably not as high, but we'll go 0 to 100. That's what we've
Not
been
as high as
doing.
Jason.
Obviously, right now he doesn't even know 1 to 100. It's still 1 to 100.
Yeah.
Did I say 0?
You're just saying like
You think that
1 to
kids
100
don't
is not
do
the same
hundreds
thing anymore. It's still to 100.
No, I meant school doesn't do testing. They do 100%. It's like, oh,
You
you
got
got
a trophy.
50 and that's perfect.
Yeah, you got a trophy now.
Yeah.
It's a participation trophy.
Here's
Mac.
your ribbon, Mac.
Mac, what do you think of Wrath of Khan?
Well, I thought it was a terrific movie. And to put it in the Star Trek universe, I'm trying to talk in the nerdism.
Yeah,
here,
no,
you know?
that's a great way to talk.
Do
Because
it,
we'll talk
do
about
it.
that way
Be
too.
yourself.
So do
Be
it.
yourself.
Yeah, because I think it's the best of them all, really. But it's my limited experience. I didn't get into the newer generation stuff. I did watch the Next Generation, series and stuff. But after that, dropped off. But Wrath of Khan was my favorite. So I give it like, oh gosh, like a 95%.
That's awesome, man.
Out of, Star
Out of the
Trek.
Star Trek world.
And
yeah.
overall, I would say it's probably like an 85 or 80, in the general scheme of all movies. So it has a high rating.
Excellent.
I really like the movie.
Excellent. Brian?
It's definitely the one I remember the most, and the ear things definitely made an impact
Yes.
on me as a child.
Yes.
You never wanted to have a little
earwig.
thing
Yeah.
put in your helmet and then put your helmet on?
Yes, because they show it burrowing into his
They
head.
did show it. That was good special effects for
That was great.
1982,
Yeah,
right?
the worm moving on the side of the head.
I thought that was really cool.
That was
I like
Harv Bennett and his
Do
superior
you think they just threw
directorial.
leeches at Chekhov and Paul Whitfield said, here's a leech. Let me dig on you.
Yeah, they didn't need Sam Raimi for that. They did it on their own.
We didn't even mention that his son Boner passed away.
Oh, Chekhov. Chekhov's son, yes. And Chekhov's
Aw.
still alive.
Bummer.
We brought that up on another podcast.
I'm sure we talked about that at some
Yep,
point.
Chekhov is still alive. That's right. He's 85 now.
Chekhov, Sulu, Shatner,
85 years old?
and
Wow.
O'Hara are still
Yeah,
alive.
I believe Uhura's 89 now.
Michelle Nichols is
And,
she's on the verge of
George-
senility too, which is really
George
sad.
is 85. Chekhov's 85.
Nichelle Nichols is the only person I've ever known who's named Nichelle.
I've never heard
for
that name
years and years
before,
and years.
yeah.
I always thought she was just.
You should
Michelle.
call your wife.
Well, I always
Michelle
thought
and see what she
I always
says.
thought she was just Michelle, and they were saying it weird, but she's Nichelle.
Yeah.
So I'll say it.
And then there's
there's
George Takei.
But listen, George Takei. We could do a whole podcast about him.
He's on another plane.
You could do a week of podcasts about George Takei.
And really, George Takei didn't become anything until he was like 75 years old, and then everybody cares about George Takei. Anyway,
yeah,
Brian,
your score.
Your rating.
Oh yeah, I'd give it it's definitely my favorite of the Star Treks, but I was never a huge Star Trek fan, so I'll give it a 74.
All right,
we should have asked
Mr. Anthony
more Star Wars or Star Trek.
I'm gonna break my rating into two pieces. As far as the Star Trek universe goes, it is my number one favorite movie, and that is including the Next Generation and the J.J. Abrams universe movies. As far as movies,
I'm shaking my head. I love it. Go.
Yeah, okay.
You can retort afterwards.
All-time movies are concerned, I think I would put it in my top 5.
Wow.
Probably my fifth.
Big statement here tonight on the exciting and new podcast.
Definite Trekkie.
Wow.
What was his score? Did he give a number?
Did you have a number?
What?
A number, like to rank it, not like a 99 out of 100.
If I put both together, I would probably put it at an 89.
89. Okay, all right, excellent. I like it.
Andy, I just saw your fingers do a burns right there.
I did that. I did that. Excellent.
Excellent.
I saw Star Trek the motion picture in the theater, and that was the first time I ever saw anything Star Trek. I never saw the show, and then I didn't see Wrath of Khan in the theater or Search for Spock because I didn't care. It just didn't. I was a Star Wars guy. Star Trek didn't matter to me at all. And then after Search for Spock came out, I heard how good both of those movies, Wrath of Khan and Search for Spock, were, and I watched them both on video cassette, and I loved them both, along with Voyage Home Part 4. And Wrath of Khan is the best of all three of those, but it's a great trilogy of movies. I would say Wrath of Khan is my favorite Star Trek movie by far.
Oh yeah.
The only one I think would even compare to that was First Contact, Next Generation with James Cromwell.
And you know what? That is if Khan is one.
Yep.
First Contact.
And I know a lot
of
of Star Trek nerds put that right up there with it. That was the only really good Next Generation movie.
Agreed.
Who's the enemy in that?
The Borg. But James
Cromwell
is fuck, I forget now. The guy that invents
Zephyr
Cochrane, the guy that invents warp drive.
Okay,
great movie.
I haven't seen that one in a long time.
But Wrath of Khan is still. Listen, there are
iconic,
quotable parts of this whole movie that we haven't even discussed, and I'd say on a scale from 1 to 100, it is a 95 for me. In the Star Trek world, it's 100. It's my favorite Star Trek movie. When I watched it today before this podcast, I was like, I love watching this stupid movie. The acting is fucking terrible.
Scotty.
But it doesn't matter.
Except for Ricardo Montalban. Ricardo Montalban actually, he is acting. Everybody else is just
I think he was Shakespeare trained. He had to be. He was so good
the whole time. And Shatner is a fucking terrible actor, and I love every second.
I thought Scotty was the worst.
No,
but he was the best at the worst. Yeah.
And oh man, it's so fun to watch how bad they are, but it's great. I love it. Yeah,
Andy, you and I always knew you and I shared a brain.
Yeah, it's a great movie. It's a great terrible movie. I like I said, I watched Space Seed right after it just to kind of get the background. I want to watch part 3 and 4 tomorrow. I won't, but I'll watch it soon.
You're going to watch Barry tomorrow.
I might watch Barry. And in the world of movies, this is like a 90. Like Star Trek world 100, world of movies 90.
I also agree.
I can agree with that.
I also agree. I was much more a Star Wars kid growing up. Saw the Star Wars movies in the theater, even as a child. I didn't see Star Trek until video cassette as well, going to the local video store, loved going to video stores and hoping that the VHS tape was behind the case, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Because they only had that one copy, you know what I mean? That was
the good old days of Blockbuster Video.
Even before that,
the
mom and pop store.
The mom and pop ones were always the best because it had and it was the case had that styrofoam in it, so it had a little bit of weight to it, and then you're like, oh, there was nothing behind it. You were like, ugh. But I always
bad way to run a business to make you get so excited and deny.
But then you were looking at the bin, what people were just bringing back
our
before
mom
they even
and pop
checked them
place
in.
had a room in the back.
Oh, yeah,
the really good movies.
Yeah, it was either like a saloon doors
Yeah.
or like beads.
And I used to pull
to
pull the whole cassette tape out with the cover on it and go up to the front counter, and there'd be other like family and kids there and stuff. To that there's a little tab that you're supposed to pull out that has a number on it, so you don't have to pull out like nut shots on a cover for the other kids to see and families. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that. I'm sorry. I miss those mom and pop shops.
Mac is scarring an entire generation of children. Like, see this? Backdoor Hikers Part 3?
Well, Pat Reddington told me, hey, grab that one. It was Bill and Ted's, it was something like Transsexual Adventure. And I didn't fully understand. Bob was with me too, Anthony. So, I'm walking up with this thing, and it was like a sandwich of love. It literally was on the cover, and it was... it's politically correct now. It was very woke at the time. And that's when there was other family up there, and they're like, dude, man, you're supposed to pull up the the ticket for it, not the whole cover.
Pull up or pull out.
Yeah.
But okay, so I watched this on video cassette growing up. Khan is my favorite.
I'm sorry. I just want to go video shop with Mac in 1982 again.
Well, you don't want to
get in the time machine.
You don't want to get the Transsexual Adventure. It was.
You know what? I'll take it for a ride.
I'm not going to judge. I'll watch.
Khan is my favorite out of the Star Trek universe. I do want to go back. I think I'm going to watch that First Contact. Is that what you said? First Contact?
That's a Next Generation movie. Yeah.
I want to go back and watch that one.
That's by far the best Next Generation movie.
So
the best thing about it, I don't want to mess up your review. I have a final thought about Wrath of Khan, but go on.
All right, and then I'm going to wrap it up. It wasn't really much. I agree with the bad acting. I love the bad acting. That makes it so much more fun rewatching.
Yeah.
Like, I hadn't watched this in a while. I had seen it several times before, obviously. My favorite Star Trek again, but I could see myself rewatching this soon again. This would be fun to sit around with people and watch as well.
The insanity of William Shatner to take that microphone and just God, there was no. That was unjustified.
What are you yelling at?
There was no reason why he did that. And then they show you outside the moon and the.
And it echoes through time.
Wouldn't it have been perfect if they were in the same room together? Like, that's what you wanted. You wanted them in the same room together, him screaming at him as he's holding on to him.
Yeah, and you really felt when he was like, come on down here. Come on. Why don't you meet me in person?
And he already had the plan set up that he was going to tell Spock to beam him up in 2 hours, but he
was like,
overreacts.
And then how about this? I'm too late. Oh. I'm already too late.
Oh my God.
My final score for this was very close to the Rotten Tomatoes. 85% from me.
85,
big fan of this movie. Big fan of this, as you were saying, outside of the Star Trek universe. I think this would be in my top 100 movies of all time. I wouldn't say it's a top 10, but it would make my top 100. But top 100 is a big thing, because I would say I could say thousands of movies maybe, but I don't know.
There's 175 movies in my top 100.
99 of those are pornos. Right? Yeah.
Have you guys ever
Those
done
were from
a top
when
100?
No, wait. If you take out the porn, then where does it rank?
Number one.
There you go.
But Rotten Tomatoes had this. They had this. Critics were 86% and the audience was 90%. So very similar to
I think we're all
everybody
around
here.
that.
There you go.
Yeah. Brian with our lowest score is 74%, but still a positive review. So that's not even.
Yeah, I mean, that's good for me.
I think so.
Oh, you're such a tough fucking critic. Look at me over there.
No,
I watched the 100. I'm so fucking evolved. Listen to me.
It's not the type of movie I normally watch.
He watches Bridgerton.
Whatever.
How do you come up with 74%? Anthony came up with 89%?
89.
put it on tens and
He
fives.
watches
Yeah.
Bridgerton.
75 is clearly 3/4, and I was like,
87% of
a
all
little bit
statistics are made up.
He watches Bridgerton.
Yeah,
Yes.
Bridgerton and the 100. His opinion matters not.
because you guys would be mad at me because I would give Bridgerton like an 85.
See, that's bullshit. There's no way that show is better than Star Trek Wrath of Khan. No way.
Thank you.
I don't even give a shit if that's
Well,
the best
to
show
quote
for
the
me.
Big Lebowski, that's just
I
like
agree
your
with Andy.
opinion, man.
Shut up, boo-boo kitty.
I would give.
I don't wanna hear it.
And the crazy thing is, I wouldn't give Big Lebowski that big of a number.
Oh,
Overrated.
hey, now you're really fucking pushing it. man.
Overrated.
Yeah, that's
Wait,
my
I'm gonna
favorite.
get-
They
I-
get
I-
100%.
We're gonna end our Wrath of Khan episode on a Big Lebowski fight.
I know I get Andy mad when I say Shawshank is overrated, and I think
Yeah,
Big
you just hit a
Lebowski's little
nerve,
bit
buddy.
overrated.
Wow.
I'm not saying it's bad.
I'm gonna do the Mike Tyson over the,
Mike Tyson on a plane.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying I don't think it's as great as it is. I mean, I'm the guy that I'll quote basketball till I'm blue in the
Jason
face,
Market Zero. Okay.
Wrath of Khan went down.
They're
all of a
nihilists.
sudden at the end when they started talking about the
They're
movie.
nihilists. They don't believe in anything. All right, Jason. So that's my movie, Big Lebowski.
Again, I don't have anything against it. I just don't think it's as great
Good.
as
It's not as good as Khan.
I think we have
Just
to
saying.
wait another 10 years to talk about Big
Yeah.
Lebowski.
Maybe even
Probably
more than
longer
that.
than 10 years.
Yeah.
We'll get there. We'll get there. You keep listening. We'll get to Big Lebowski.
I don't really have any other final thoughts from what I said. I told you my favorite part was the nebula.
Yeah,
and,
I think we've
I think we all
we've
got
covered
there.
Wrath of
You
Khan
said you had a
really well.
final thought though, or did you
Oh,
get that
fuck,
out?
Did I?
Didn't he say that? He
I
did
probably
say, right?
did. I
I thought
probably
so,
forgot
yeah.
it.
You said you didn't want to say it because you wanted me to say my score, and then he forgot it. Now.
Shit, man. I've been drinking. I don't know.
All right, I
Wrath
just
of
want-
Khan. Yay!
My final thought.
We started
My
with
final
a,
thought. I feel young.
Billy Young. Billy Young. Who's burping?
It was not me.
I snuck that in there.
We could be reached at the Exciting and New Podcast on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook.
Con!
I'm Jason, the Jazoo, and the Jazoo74 at Twitter, the Jazoo
fuck,
on
he doesn't even remember his
Instagram,
fucking numbers.
AE Gonzo 1, AE Gonzo 70 on Instagram, Papa Bad Kitty everywhere, B Mac, right? Brian Mac.
Yep.
Something like
A.
that.
Galetta Jr.
Yeah. We have to use my last name. We're not using last names here, right? So I
No,
can't
we're
give
That's
Yeah.
his choice to not.
Yeah.
I
I'm
use
getting
mine.
doxxed.
We're going to start doxing now.
Okay,
yeah.
B Mac and
I used
Taggart.
mine. It's all
Yep.
good.
We're gonna run out of
Come
exciting
at
new
me, bro.
music.
I'll have to start the
Cut
song
it off.
again.
Just cut it off.
I don't know how to end them. It's so difficult ending.